The transport ship landed with a soft thud on the Seoul spaceport. Yuna Kim stepped off the metal ramp, her military bag heavy on her shoulder. After 5 long years fighting the Alterian invasion, she was finally home. The city looked different now. Tall buildings reached toward the sky, and strange ships moved between them. Some were human ships, others belonged to the aliens. Yuna touched the medals on her uniform jacket, 3 silver stars and a golden cross. She had earned each one in battle, protecting Earth from the Alterians who wanted to take their planet. Now the war was over. The peace treaty was signed. Humans and Alterians were supposed to be friends. She did not feel like celebrating. Her old apartment was gone. The building had been destroyed during the war. Yuna found a small room near Seoul Interspecies University. The name made her laugh, but not in a happy way. 5 years ago, it was just Seoul University. Now aliens walked the same halls where she once studied literature. The next morning, Yuna put on civilian clothes for the first time in years. The jeans felt strange. The simple shirt seemed too soft. She missed her armor and weapon. But those days were over. Today, she would start school again. The university gates were bigger than before. A large sign hung above them in 3 languages: Korean, English, and something else with strange symbols. Alterian, she realized. The language of the enemy. No, not enemy anymore. That was the point. Students walked through the gates in small groups. Humans stayed with humans. Alterians stayed with their own kind. They looked like tall, thin people with blue-gray skin and large black eyes. Their movements were smooth and quiet. Yuna remembered how fast they could move in battle. She shook her head. Those thoughts had to stop. At the registration office, a young woman with a bright smile greeted her. "Welcome to Seoul Interspecies University. How can I help you?" "I want to study diplomacy," Yuna said. "I want to help humans and Alterians work together." The woman's smile became smaller. She looked at Yuna's papers. "You served in the military." "Yes, 5 years with the Terran Defense Corps." The woman typed something into her computer. She frowned. "I see. Well, we have special rules for former soldiers. You need to take reintegration counseling first. And some programs are not available to people with your background." "What do you mean?" "Military personnel can be difficult to work with. The Alterian students might feel unsafe around you. We want to keep the peace here." Yuna felt her hands tighten into fists. She forced them to relax. "I fought to protect this planet. I want to build peace now." "I understand. But rules are rules. Here is your schedule. Counseling starts tomorrow at 9 in the morning. Your regular classes begin next week." Yuna took the papers. Half of her classes were about peaceful thinking and violence prevention. Only 2 were about actual diplomacy. She walked across the campus. Students moved around her like water around a stone. Humans looked at her uniform jacket and whispered. Alterians saw her and quickly walked away. A few pointed at her medals and spoke in their clicking language. Yuna sat on a bench near a fountain. The water made soft sounds as it fell. She watched a group of human and Alterian students talking together at a nearby table. They laughed and shared food. They looked happy. She wanted to join them. She wanted to help build this new world where enemies could become friends. But everyone seemed to think she was the problem. Yuna looked up at the sky. Somewhere up there, other soldiers were still fighting other wars. But her war was supposed to be over. It did not feel over. It felt like a new battle was just beginning. Monday morning came too soon. Yuna walked into her first real class after a week of counseling sessions. The room was large and bright, with windows that looked out over the campus. 20 students sat in a circle. 10 humans, 10 Alterians. Perfect balance, she thought. Professor Daishin stood at the front. He was a tall man with gray hair and kind eyes. "Welcome to conflict resolution," he said. "Today we will discuss how to solve problems without violence." Yuna took an empty seat. The human student next to her moved his chair away. An Alterian across the circle stared at her with those large black eyes. "Let us share experiences," Professor Shin said. "Tell us about a time when you solved a problem peacefully." Students raised their hands. A human girl talked about helping her neighbors stop fighting over noise. An Alterian boy described fixing a trade dispute on his homeworld. Professor Shin smiled and nodded at each story. Yuna raised her hand. Professor Shin looked at her, then looked away. "Yes, Minna?" The human girl next to the professor began talking about her part-time job. Yuna kept her hand up. The professor called on 3 more students. He never looked at Yuna again. After class, Yuna walked to the front. "Professor, I had something to share." "Miss Kim." He gathered his papers quickly. "Perhaps you should listen more and speak less. Your background might make other students uncomfortable." "My background? You know what I mean. These students need to feel safe." Yuna watched him leave. Safe from what? From her. The next day was worse. In her History of Peace class, the teacher asked about the recent war. "Can anyone tell us why the conflict ended?" Yuma knew this answer. She had been there when the final battle ended. She had seen both sides stop fighting. She raised her hand. "The treaty was signed because both sides were tired," said a human boy the teacher called on instead. "Actually," Yuna said without being called, "the war ended because soldiers on both sides saved each other's lives. I was there when." "Miss Kim." The teacher's voice was sharp. "We do not interrupt in this classroom, and we certainly do not glorify war." "I was not glorifying war. I was explaining how it ended." The Alterian students whispered to each other in their clicking language. Their black eyes were wide with what looked like fear. "Please see me after class," the teacher said. After class, the teacher closed the door. "Miss Kim, I have received complaints about you." "Complaints?" "Several Alterian students feel threatened by your presence. They say you stare at them with hostile intent." Yuna remembered looking at the Alterians, trying to understand their expressions. "I was just looking." To them, "It feels like you are planning an attack." One student said you moved your hand toward your belt during class. "I was scratching my side." They do not know that. These students lost family members in the war. Miss Kim. To them, you represent death and violence. Yuna felt something cold in her stomach. "I lost friends too. I fought to protect everyone, including Alterians who wanted peace. I understand your service was important, but this is a classroom, not a battlefield. Perhaps you should consider sitting in the back. Speak less. Make yourself smaller." That night, Yuna sat in her small room and stared at her medals. 3 silver stars and a golden cross. She had earned them by saving lives, human lives and Alterian lives. During the last battle, she had carried a wounded Alterian soldier to safety while bombs fell around them. Now those same people were afraid of her. The next morning, she got a message from the university administration. 3 formal complaints had been filed against her. She was ordered to attend additional counseling sessions. Her class participation would be monitored. Yuna folded the message and put it in her drawer. She looked at herself in the mirror. The same face that had smiled at rescued Alterian civilians during the war now made those same people afraid. She was being silenced, one word at a time. But Yuna Kim had not survived 5 years of war by giving up when things got difficult. She would find another way to make her voice heard. Yuna was eating lunch alone when someone sat across from her. The woman had short black hair and a small scar on her chin. She looked familiar. "You are Yuna Kim," the woman said. It was not a question. "Yes. I am Hana Park. We served together on Titan Station." Yuna remembered now. Hana had been a medic in the 7th Infantry. She had saved dozens of lives during the siege. "Hana, what are you doing here?" "Same as you. Trying to go to school. Trying to fit in." Hana looked around the dining hall. Students sat in their separate groups. "How is it going for you?" "Not well." Hana smiled, But it was not a happy smile. I thought so. They are treating you like a dangerous animal, right? Yes. How did you know? Because it happens to all of us. Hannah leaned forward. There are others, Yuna. Other veterans trying to study here. We help each other. That evening, Hannah led Yuna to the old library basement. The room was dusty and filled with boxes of old books. 8 people sat in a circle. Yuna recognized some faces from the war. Everyone, this is Yuna Kim, Hannah said. She fought at the Battle of New Seoul. A young man with a metal arm nodded. I am Kwan. I lost this in the same battle. He lifted his artificial hand. Now the professors say I make Alterian students nervous. I am Suki, said a woman with tired eyes. I was a pilot. Shot down 3 times, rescued twice by Alterian rebels who wanted peace. Now their cousins here call me a war criminal. One by one, they shared their stories. All were veterans. All were struggling in school. All were being treated like enemies by the very people they had protected. They want us to disappear, said an older man named Bong. They want us to be ashamed of our service. But we are not ashamed, Yuna said. We did our duty. Tell that to the university. Suki said. Tell that to the Alterian students who cross the street when they see me coming. Hannah opened a tablet computer. I have been watching the campus network. Social media posts, student forums, message boards. Look at this. She showed them screenshots of posts in the Alterian student group. The words were translated from their clicking language into Korean. Human soldier in my class keeps staring at me. I think she is planning something. My friend saw a veteran student touching her belt during lecture, probably checking for weapons. These humans still think they are at war. They cannot be trusted. Why are war criminals allowed in our safe space? Yuna felt her blood turn cold. These are lies. I never threatened anyone. Look at the dates, Hannah said. All posted in the same week you started classes. More posts appeared on the screen. Stories about aggressive veterans and dangerous humans who cannot adapt to peace. Some posts had hundreds of likes and shares. They are spreading rumors about all of us, Kwan said, making us look like monsters. Why? Yuma asked. Because they are afraid, Bong said. Not of us. Of what we represent. What do we represent? The truth. We know what really happened in the war. We know which Alterians helped us, and which ones wanted to kill every human on Earth. We know the peace treaty was not just signed in some office. It was earned with blood and sacrifice. Suki nodded. They want a clean story. Good Alterians, bad war, happy ending. We complicate that story. So what do we do? Yuna asked. The room was quiet for a long moment. We could file complaints, Kwan suggested. Against whom? Hannah asked. Students sharing their feelings. The university would say they have a right to feel safe. We could leave, Bong said sadly. Find schools that want us. No. Yuna stood up. I did not fight for 5 years just to run away now. Then what? Yuna looked around the circle at these brave people who had served their planet. Now they were hiding in a basement like criminals. We fight back, but not the way they expect. We use their own system against them. We prove that we belong here. How? I do not know yet, but I will find a way. The meeting ended, but Yuna stayed behind with Hannah. Are you sure about this? Hannah asked. Yes, we earned our place in this new world. I will not let them take it away. Yuna was walking to her next class when she heard angry voices near the student center. She stopped and looked around the corner. 3 Alterian students surrounded a young Korean man. The boy looked scared. His books were scattered on the ground. One of the Alterians was taller than the others, with dark blue skin and silver markings on his neck. You said humans were not all violent, the tall Alterian said in careful Korean. But you were wrong. Your people are killers. I just said that some humans want peace, the boy replied. His voice shook. I was not defending war. All humans defend war. It is in your nature. Yuna remembered her training. Violence was not always the answer. Sometimes the best weapon was a calm voice and steady hands. She walked toward the group slowly. "Excuse me," she said. "Is there a problem here?" The Alterians turned to look at her. The tall one's large black eyes grew wider. "You are the soldier," he said. "I am a student, just like you." Yuna kept her voice soft. She bent down and picked up the scattered books. "Are these yours?" she asked the Korean boy. He nodded quickly. "Yes. Thank you. What is your name?" "Jinwoo." Yuna handed him the books. Then she looked at the Alterians. "I am Yuna. What are your names?" The tall one did not answer. The two smaller ones stepped back, but another Alterian approached from behind them. This one had lighter blue skin and wore a peace symbol on his shirt. "I am Kiro," he said. "These are my classmates." They were just having a discussion. "It looked more like bullying to me," Yuna said calmly. "Kiro, do not talk to her," the tall Alterian said. "She is dangerous." "She seems peaceful to me," Kiro replied. He looked at Yuna with curiosity. "You really served in the war?" "Yes, for 5 years." "Did you kill my people?" The question hung in the air like smoke. Jinwoo watched nervously. The other Alterians waited for her answer. "I fought to protect innocent people," Yuna said. "Human and Alterian. I saved lives on both sides." "Lies," the tall Alterian said. "Humans only know how to destroy." "Then why am I here studying diplomacy instead of re-enlisting?" Yuna asked. The tall Alterian had no answer. He made a clicking sound of anger and walked away. The other two followed him. Kiro stayed behind. "I am sorry about them. Some of us still carry hate from the war." "Some humans do too," Yuna said. "But not all of us." Jinwoo looked between them. "Are you really going to talk like nothing happened?" "Something did happen," Kiro said. 3 people with hate met 2 people without it. The 2 without it won. Yuna smiled. This Alterian was wise. "Would you like to get coffee?" she asked both of them. "I think we need to talk." They found a quiet table in the student cafe. Jinwoo was 19 and studying political science. Kiro was older, maybe 25, and worked on peace studies. "I defend humans in my classes," Jinwoo said. "But it gets harder every day. Everyone says we are all violent and cannot change." "Who is everyone?" Yuna asked. "Some professors, lots of Alterian students, even some humans believe it now." Kiro nodded sadly. "My people hear the same thing about your people. They say humans pretend to want peace but really want war." "Where do these ideas come from?" Yuna asked. "Student forums, social media. Some teachers even say it in class." Jinwoo showed them his tablet. "Look at this." The screen showed posts similar to what Hana had found, but these were newer, more angry. They talked about human aggression and Alterian terrorism. Each side was being told to fear the other. "This is not natural," Yuna said. "Someone is making this happen." "You think so?" Kiro asked. "I know so. During the war, we saw this kind of propaganda. Someone wants to keep humans and Alterians apart." "But why?" Jinwoo asked. "The war is over. Maybe someone does not want it to stay over," Yuna said. Kiro's eyes grew thoughtful. "There are Alterians who never wanted peace, and there are humans who make money from fear. We need to find out who is behind this," Yuna said. "How?" Jinwoo asked. "By working together. You know the student networks. Kiro knows the Alterian community. I know how propaganda works." "And if we get caught?" Jinwoo asked. "Then we get caught fighting for truth instead of hiding from lies." Kiro extended his long, thin hand. "I am willing to try." Jinwoo looked nervous, but he placed his hand on top of Kiro's. "Me too." Yuna placed her hand on top of both of theirs. "Then let us begin." For the first time since arriving at the university, Yuna felt hope. She was not alone anymore. The message came on a Wednesday morning. Every student received it on their tablets at the same time. Yuna read it twice to make sure she understood. New university policy update. Enhanced safety measures for campus integration. The words looked innocent, but as Yuna read further, her hands began to shake. Due to ongoing concerns about campus safety and student comfort, the university will implement new restrictions. Former military personnel will no longer be eligible for advanced programs in diplomacy, interspecies relations, or peace studies. These sensitive programs require participants who can demonstrate a commitment to nonviolent solutions. Yuna stared at the screen. They were banning veterans from the very programs that could help build peace. Her tablet buzzed with messages from Hana and the other veterans. They were all angry and scared. Years of planning, destroyed by one announcement. But there was more. The message continued. Additionally, all former military personnel must complete extended reintegration counseling before continuing their studies. Students who fail to comply will be removed from the university. Yuna felt something cold settle in her stomach. This was not about safety. This was about silencing them completely. That afternoon, she met with Jin-Woo and Kiro at their usual table. Both looked worried. "This is wrong," Jin-Woo said. "My grandfather was a war veteran. He became a teacher after the old war and helped thousands of students. Some of the wisest Alterians I know are former soldiers," Kiro added. "They understand the cost of violence better than anyone." "We have to do something," Yuna said. "Like what?" Jin-Woo asked. "The decision is already made. There is a campus forum tomorrow night," Kiro said slowly. "Students can ask questions about university policies." Yuna looked at him. "You want me to speak publicly?" "You are the only one who can. Jin-Woo and I are just students, but you are a veteran. Your voice carries weight. My voice is exactly what they want to silence. Then make them hear it before they can stop you." That night, Yuna could not sleep. She walked around her small room, thinking about what to say. How do you explain 5 years of war in a few minutes? How do you make people understand that fighting for peace is not a contradiction? The forum was held in the main auditorium. Hundreds of students filled the seats. University Administrator Mina Lee stood at the podium, flanked by security guards. She was a thin woman with sharp eyes and an official smile. "Welcome to our monthly policy forum," Mina Lee said. "We are here to discuss the new safety measures that will make our campus more peaceful for everyone." Several students asked easy questions. Mina Lee gave practiced answers about creating safe spaces and preventing conflicts. Then Yuna stood up. "I have a question," she said loudly. Mina Lee's smile became tighter. "Yes. Why are you punishing the people who fought to create the peace you now claim to protect?" Murmurs filled the auditorium. Students turned to look at Yuna. Some human faces were supportive. Some Alterian eyes were curious. "I am not sure I understand your question," Mina Lee said. "I am Yuma Kim. I served 5 years in the Terran Defense Corps. I fought in the Battle of New Seoul, the Siege of Luna Station, and the final campaign at Alpha Centauri. I saved human lives and Alterian lives. I carried wounded enemies to safety under fire. I earned these medals by choosing to protect instead of destroy." Yuna held up her medal case. The silver stars caught the auditorium lights. "Now you say people like me cannot study diplomacy because we are too violent. You say we cannot help build peace because we have seen war." The auditorium was completely quiet now. Who better to teach peace than those who have paid its price? Who better to prevent war than those who have lived through one? You are not creating safety. You are throwing away wisdom. Yuna's voice grew stronger. "I did not fight for 5 years just to be told I am too dangerous for a classroom. I did not watch my friends die protecting this planet just to be silenced by fear and bureaucracy." She looked directly at Mina Lee. "You want to keep veterans out of peace programs. Then you do not want peace. You want the appearance of peace. And that is not the same thing. The auditorium erupted. Some students cheered. Others argued. Security guards moved toward Yuna, but Jinwoo and Kiro stood up beside her. Then other students stood, human and Alterian, all looking at the woman on stage. Mina Lee's face was red with anger. "This forum is over," she announced. But it was too late. Someone had been recording. Within hours, Yuna's speech was everywhere. Campus networks, social media, news sites across the galaxy. The next morning, Yuna received an official message. She was placed on academic probation pending a disciplinary hearing. The real battle had begun. After Yuna's speech went viral, everything changed. Students stopped her in hallways to shake her hand or argue with her. News reporters called her tablet constantly. The university security followed her everywhere. But something else happened too. People started reaching out to help. "You need to meet someone," Jinwoo said 3 days after the forum. He led Yuna and Kiro to the computer lab in the engineering building. A young man with messy black hair sat at 3 monitors, typing rapidly. Code scrolled across the screens faster than Yuna could read. "This is Taro Nakamura," Jinwoo said. "He is an exchange student from Tokyo University, and he is very good with computers." Taro looked up and adjusted his glasses. "I saw your speech. Very impressive. Also very dangerous." "Dangerous how?" Yuna asked. "Because you made enemies, and your enemies have been busy." Taro turned one of his monitors toward them. "I have been analyzing the social media posts about veterans on campus. The patterns are interesting." The screen showed a complex web of connections. Lines linked different user accounts, showing how messages spread across the network. "Most of the anti-veteran posts come from a small group of accounts," Taro explained. "But these accounts create fake profiles to make it look like hundreds of students are complaining." "Fake profiles?" Kiro asked. "Computer programs that pretend to be real people. They post messages, share content, and create the appearance of widespread anger. But it is all artificial." Yuna felt a chill. Someone is creating fake outrage. "Yes. And I found something else." Taro opened another file. "The university's financial records are public information. I looked at where the money comes from for certain programs." He showed them a list of donors to the university. Most were normal companies and wealthy individuals. But one name stood out. "The Alterian Purity Foundation," Yuna read aloud. "What is that?" Kiro's eyes went wide. "They are separatists. Alterians who think our species should never mix with humans. They wanted to keep fighting the war. And they have been giving money to this university for 2 years, Taro said. Large amounts, specifically to fund the peaceful integration programs." "That makes no sense," Jinwoo said. "Why would separatists fund integration programs?" "Unless they want those programs to fail," Yuna said slowly. Taro nodded. "I think they are paying to create the appearance of integration, while actually making sure it does not work." He opened more files. "Security camera footage from around campus. I also found these. Remember the incident last month when an Alterian student claimed a human veteran threatened him?" They watched the footage. A human man was walking across the courtyard. An Alterian student approached him and began shouting. The human backed away, hands up, clearly trying to avoid conflict. "The security report said the human was aggressive," Taro said. "But look at this angle." He switched to a different camera. Now they could see the whole scene. The Alterian had deliberately bumped into the human first. He had started the confrontation, then acted like he was being threatened. "He was creating evidence," Yuna said. "And look who filed the complaint." Taro showed them the paperwork. The witness signature belonged to Mina Lee. "She was there?" Kiro asked. "According to this, she saw the whole thing. But look at the timestamps. The incident happened at 2:15 p.m. Mina Lee signed this report at 2:10 p.m. 5 minutes before it happened," Jinwoo said. "She knew what was going to happen," Yuna said. "Because she planned it." Taro showed them more files. Similar incidents over the past year. Alterian students making false complaints. Human students being accused of aggression. Every report signed by Mina Lee or her assistants. How many fake incidents? Yuna asked. At least 12 that I can prove. Probably more. And the money from the Purity Foundation goes directly to Mina Lee's department. She controls how it gets spent. Yuna sat back in her chair. The conspiracy was bigger than she had imagined. Not just false social media posts, but fake incidents, manufactured evidence, and funding from people who wanted integration to fail. We need to take this to the university president, she said. Will he believe us? Jinwoo asked. Will he care? Kuro added. If the university is taking money from separatists, maybe the president knows about it. Taro saved the files to an encrypted drive. We should be careful who we trust. If this goes as high as I think it does, then we are all in danger now. As if summoned by his words, Yuna's tablet buzzed with a message from university security. She was ordered to report for her disciplinary hearing the next morning. They are moving fast, she said. Then we have to move faster, Taro replied. But Yuna wondered if they were already too late. Outside the computer lab, someone watched them through the window and made a quiet phone call. The message came to Yuna's tablet at midnight. It was from an unknown sender, but the words made her heart race. I have information about Mina Lee. Meet me at the old library basement at 1 a.m. Come alone. Trust no one else. A friend. Yuna stared at the message. It could be a trap, but it could also be the proof they needed to expose the conspiracy. She grabbed her jacket and headed for the library. The basement was dark and empty. Yuna checked her watch. 1:05 a.m. She was late, but no one was there. She walked between the dusty shelves, looking for whoever had sent the message. Hello, she called softly. A sound came from behind her. She turned to see an Alterian student she did not recognize. He was young, with pale blue skin and nervous eyes. You came, he said in accented Korean. You sent the message. Yes, I know things about what is happening, about the lies being told. What kind of lies? The Alterian looked around nervously. My name is Vel. I work part-time in the administration office. I have seen things. Documents. Money transfers. What documents? Proof that Mina Lee is working with the Purity Foundation. They pay her to create problems between humans and Alterians. Yuna stepped closer. Do you have copies? Yes, but Vel backed away suddenly. I am scared. If they find out I told you. I will protect you, Yuna said. We can go to the authorities together. No. Vel's voice was loud now. You do not understand. They are everywhere. They know about your investigation. What do you mean? But Vel was not looking at her anymore. He was looking past her, at something behind her. His expression changed from fear to something else. Relief? Yuna spun around. 3 security guards stood at the basement entrance. Campus security cameras blinked red on the walls. When had those been installed? Step away from the student, one guard ordered. I was not threatening him, Yuna said. The cameras showed differently, the guard replied. Yuna looked at Vel. He was holding his arm and backing away from her, as if she had hurt him. She grabbed me, Vel said to the guards. She said she would hurt me if I did not give her information. That is not true, Yuna said. But the guards were already moving toward her. You are under arrest for assault and intimidation of a student. As they put restraints on her hands, Yuna saw Mina Lee step out from behind the shelves. She was smiling. Thank you for your cooperation, Vel, Mina Lee said. Your performance was perfect. Vel nodded and walked away without looking back at Yuna. You set this up, Yuna said. You made it easy, Mina Lee replied. Always so eager to play the hero. The next morning, the story was everywhere. Violent veteran attacks innocent student. The security footage showed Yuna grabbing Vel's arm and shouting at him. It looked real, but Yuna knew it had been edited. Her tablet exploded with messages. Some were supportive, but many were angry. "This proves all veterans are dangerous," one post said. "She should be expelled immediately." But other voices spoke up too. Kiro posted a long message on the student forum. "I know Yuna Kim. She saved my life when radical students tried to attack me. She has never shown violence toward anyone. This footage does not match the person I know." Other Alterian students began sharing their own stories. Yuna helping them with homework. Yuna standing up for them when human students were rude. Yuna carrying an injured Alterian student to the medical center during a fire drill. Jin Woo organized a protest outside the administration building. 50 human students held signs reading "Support our veterans" and questioned the evidence. Then something unexpected happened. Professor Dai Shin released a statement. "I have taught Yuna Kim for several weeks," he wrote. "While I initially had concerns about her military background, I have observed her behavior carefully. She has never shown aggression or threatened any student. The evidence presented does not match my experience with this student." More professors began speaking up. The engineering teacher who had seen Yuna help Alterian students with their projects. The librarian who watched her tutor struggling classmates for free. But the administration struck back. New evidence appeared daily. More students came forward with stories about Yuna being threatening. More security footage showed her stalking Alterian students. The campus split into two sides, those who believed the official story and those who questioned it. Taro worked frantically to analyze the video evidence. "The lighting is wrong," he told Jin Woo and Kiro. "The shadows do not match the timestamps. This footage was created in a computer. Can you prove it?" "I am trying, but they are good at this. Very professional." Hana and the other veterans rallied around Yuna. They held their own meetings, sharing stories about the real Yuna they knew. The soldier who had risked her life to save both humans and Alterians during the war. But the disciplinary hearing was scheduled for the next day. If Yuna was found guilty, she would be expelled and possibly face criminal charges. As she sat in her room that night, Yuna looked at her medals one more time. 3 silver stars and a golden cross. She had earned them by doing what was right, even when it was dangerous. Tomorrow, she would have to do the same thing again. The trap had been set, but the war was not over. The hearing room was packed. Students, professors, and reporters filled every seat. Camera drones hovered near the ceiling, broadcasting live across the galaxy. Yuna had not expected this much attention. She sat at a small table facing 5 university officials. Min-Ali was among them, smiling coldly. The chief administrator, Professor Jung, read the charges aloud. "Yuna Kim, you are accused of assault, intimidation, and creating a hostile environment for Alterian students. How do you plead?" "Before I answered," Yuna said, "I want to represent myself." Murmurs filled the room. Her assigned lawyer looked confused. "You have the right to legal counsel," Professor Jung said. "I recommend you use it. I have spent weeks being silenced by others who claim to speak for me," Yuna replied. "Today, I speak for myself." The lawyer gathered his papers and left. Yuna stood alone at her table. "I plead not guilty to all charges," she said clearly. Professor Jung nodded. "The university will present its evidence first." For an hour, they showed the security footage of Yuna supposedly attacking Vel. They read statements from students who claimed to feel threatened by her presence. They presented her military record as if her medals were crimes. "This student has been trained to kill," Min-Ali said when it was her turn to speak. "She cannot adapt to peaceful civilian life. She represents everything this university stands against." Finally, it was Yuna's turn. She walked to the center of the room. Every eye was on her. The cameras captured her steady expression. 5 years ago, I put on a uniform to protect this planet," she began. "I fought battles on 3 worlds and 2 space stations. I watched friends die and enemies surrender. I carried wounded soldiers to safety under enemy fire, regardless of their species. She looked directly at the cameras. I learned something during those 5 years. War is not about hate. It is about protecting what you love. And peace is not about silence. It is about honest voices speaking truth. Yuna turned to face the panel. You say I assaulted a student, but I have evidence that this assault was staged. She held up Taro's data drive. This contains proof that the security footage was digitally altered. The lighting, shadows, and timestamps were all manipulated. Gasps filled the room. Menali's face went pale. You say I threaten Alterian students, but dozens of Alterians have spoken up to defend me. They know the truth about my character because they have experienced it. She gestured to the audience, where Kiro and other Alterian students sat. You say my military service makes me dangerous, but my service taught me the value of every life. During the Battle of New Seoul, I risked my own life to save Alterian civilians trapped in collapsed buildings. During the final campaign, I refused a direct order to destroy an enemy medical station because wounded soldiers were inside. Her voice grew stronger. You want to ban veterans from peace programs because you say we only know violence. But who better to prevent war than those who have seen its cost? Who better to build bridges than those who have crossed battlefields? She looked at each panel member. I came to this university to learn diplomacy. Instead, I found a conspiracy to prevent true peace. I found fake social media accounts spreading hate. I found staged incidents designed to make species fear each other. I found money from separatist groups funding programs meant to fail. The room erupted. Reporters shouted questions. Students argued loudly. Professor Jung called for order. These are serious accusations, he said. They are serious crimes, Yuna replied. She handed him the data drive. Everything is documented. Financial records, fake accounts, video analysis, witness statements. The truth is all here. She turned to face the cameras again. For months, you have heard lies about veterans like me. You have been told we are dangerous, that we cannot change, that we threaten peace. But I am still here, still fighting, not with weapons, but with words, not for victory, but for truth. Her voice carried across the room and beyond, to viewers on dozens of worlds. I fought a war so that humans and Alterians could build a future together. That future is not possible if we are kept apart by fear and lies. It is not possible if the voices of those who paid for peace are silenced by those who profit from division. She stood straight, shoulders back, every inch the soldier she had been. I have served my planet with honor. I have earned my place in this new world, and I will not be silent anymore. The room was completely quiet now. You want to expel me for defending truth? Then do it. But know that my voice will not stop. Others will take up this fight. The truth will not stay buried. She sat down. Professor Jung looked at the data drive in his hands. Around the room, tablets and phones buzzed with messages as Yuna's speech spread across networks faster than light. On worlds throughout the galaxy, humans and Alterians watched a young woman refuse to be broken by a system designed to destroy her. And they began to listen. The vote would come tomorrow. But Yuna had already won something more important. She had found her voice. And the galaxy had heard it. The vote was unanimous. All 5 panel members declared Yuna innocent of all charges. Professor Jung stood to address the packed hearing room. After reviewing the evidence presented by Ms. Kim, this panel finds no merit to the accusations against her. Furthermore, we are deeply troubled by what appears to be a systematic campaign to undermine interspecies relations on this campus. The room exploded with cheers and angry shouts. Reporters rushed toward Yuna, but Jin Woo and Kiro formed a protective circle around her. But the real shock came 3 hours later. University President Park called an emergency press conference. He stood at the podium looking tired and angry. Today's hearing revealed serious corruption within our administration, he announced. After investigating the evidence provided by student Yuna Kim, we have discovered financial fraud, falsified records, and conspiracy to create artificial conflict between species. The cameras flashed as he continued. Effective immediately, Administrator Mina Lead is removed from her position and banned from campus. Several staff members involved in this conspiracy have also been terminated. The university will cooperate fully with law enforcement investigations. That evening, Yuna sat in her small room surrounded by flowers and messages from supporters across the galaxy. Her tablet showed news reports from dozens of worlds, all telling the story of the human veteran who refused to be silenced. Hannah knocked on her door. "There is someone here to see you." Professor Daishin stood in the hallway, looking embarrassed. "Miss Kim," he said formally, "I owe you an apology. I judged you based on fear instead of observing your character. That was wrong of me." "Thank you, Professor. I have a proposal. The university needs to rebuild trust between species. We need someone who understands both conflict and peace. Would you consider becoming my teaching assistant?" Yuna smiled. "I would be honored." 6 months later, Yuna stood in front of her first classroom as an instructor. 20 students sat before her, 10 humans, 10 Alterians. But unlike her first day as a student, these students sat mixed together. Humans and Alterians shared desks and notebooks. "Welcome to Veterans and Peace Studies," Yuna said. "I am Yuna Kim, and this is my co-instructor, Vel." The young Alterian who had helped frame her now stood beside her. After Mina Lee's arrest, he had confessed to his part in the conspiracy. Instead of punishment, Yuna had offered him a chance to help fix what they had broken. "Today we begin something new," Yuna continued. "A program where former soldiers from both species work together to train the next generation of diplomats." She gestured to the back of the room, where Hannah and 3 other human veterans sat next to 4 Alterian former soldiers. "These veterans will share their experiences with you, not stories of glory or victory, but truths about the cost of conflict and the value of peace." A human student raised her hand. "Professor Kim, how do we know this program will work?" Yuna looked around the room at the mixed faces, eager and curious. "Because you are here," she said simply. 6 months ago, humans and Alterians on this campus were kept apart by fear and lies. Today, you sit together by choice. You came to learn from each other. An Alterian student spoke up. "My parents fought in the war. They said humans could never be trusted. What do you think now?" Yuna asked. "I think they were wrong. Jinwoo helped me with my math homework yesterday. Taro fixed my computer for free. You saved me from bullies who were from my own species." A human student nodded. "My brother died in the war. I hated all Alterians. But Kiro showed me that individuals are not responsible for what their governments do." Yuna felt warmth spread through her chest. This was why she had fought. Not for victory over enemies, but for moments like this. "The war taught me something important," she told her students. "Peace is not the absence of conflict. Peace is what happens when people choose to understand each other instead of fear each other." She walked to the window and looked out at the campus. Human and Alterian students studied together under the trees. Mixed groups played sports on the fields. The separated dining areas had been removed months ago. "Your assignment for next week is simple," Yuna said. "Find someone from the other species. Learn their story. Share your own. Build a bridge." The class ended with students pairing up naturally. Humans with Alterians, planning study sessions and coffee meetings. As the room emptied, Vel approached Yuna. "Do you really think we can change the galaxy?" he asked. Yuna looked at her medals, now displayed on the classroom wall next to those of the other veteran instructors. "We already have," she said. "One conversation at a time. One friendship at a time. One classroom at a time." Outside, the sun was setting over Seoul, but for Yuna Kim, the real dawn was just beginning.